Welcome back to Astrology, Angels, and More. I'm your host, Mary Silvernail. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today is July the 12th, 2023. And any of the shows that we have filmed for Astrology, Angels, and More, besides watching them on Spectrum, Channel 79, and FiOS, Channel 35, Sunday nights at 7:30, all the shows you can also view on YouTube. So any of them that you'd like to go back and watch, you can rewatch them as much as you want. Now, as I said, today is July the 12th, 2023. So, first of all, I would like to speak to Aries for a moment. And I'm going to go through all the signs and just give you a little glimpse of what's coming up for you within this month of July and the beginning of August also. So your home is your haven, Aries. Okay, put your energies into sprucing it up because you're going to be having a lot of summer parties. Now, Taurus, communications open up profoundly for you, but you need to speak your mind. However, don't come across with any kind of a temper, okay? And try to get a little more rest this month and focus on the positive. Gemini, money, 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 Gemini. Find new ways of investing wisely, and you'll be set for life. Beware and be wise. A friend's advice may be for his or her benefit only. So be careful about that. You have to go by your own gut instinct, your own intuition. Cancerians, happy birthday, Cancer. It's your month to shine. There's a brand new you in the world. Brand new you. Especially after that full moon that we were dealing with recently. Okay? So have confidence in your abilities and decisions at this time. Beautiful, beautiful Leo. Release what is no longer helping you. And you need to grow now and release whatever's been holding you back. It's time to move forward. Love is in your stars. Lucky, lucky you. So enjoy it. Enjoy this summer, especially this month of July. Virgo, now is the time to shine in your career. Love changes are coming your way this summer. For all the signs, actually, there's a lot of changes in love that's going on right now with Venus that I'll be talking about. Now, beautiful Libra. Okay, the beautiful Libras. A new career opportunity arises. Communication and contact with family members brings joy and understanding of a lifelong question. Something is going to rise to the surface that you didn't know before. Now, Scorpio, a foreigner will bring new and valuable information to you concerning career and money. You're a winner. Celebrate. So make sure you play that lottery, huh, Scorpio? Sagittarius, summer passions sizzle. Concentrate on that instead of annoyances of the workplace, which will pass by next month anyway. Capricorn, wedding bells are ringing. If married, your relationship moves to a higher level of understanding. If unmarried, opportunity is knocking, so let it in. Aquarius, a promotion or a whole new job is in the stars for you. A friend brings a life-changing opportunity to your ears, so listen very carefully. Pisces, love is shining in your stars this month, beautiful Pisces. Career opportunities abound. Just make sure you're crystal clear and tactful in all your communications. Now, as I said before, happy birthday, Cancer. Happy birthday also to the United States of America, who recently celebrated their birthday, right? Our beautiful country, the United States, July the 4th. Cancer is in the 4th house of the zodiac with the moon as its ruling planet. Cancerians are very much ruled by the phases of the moon. Silver is the color associated with Cancer. Cancerians are very sympathetic, nurturing, maternal, and very emotional. Cancerians love their homes and value family traditions. Their gemstones are moonstone, pearl, and clear quartz. Those are your lucky stones, Cancers. Now, on July the 3rd, we recently had that Capricorn full moon, which has already passed. But that was a very strong moon that created a lot of upsetment and emotions, okay? However, the good news from that moon was that it trined lucky Jupiter and Taurus, which can bring some good fortune. So finances may become easier. And I'm talking about everyone globally, okay? Now, July the 10th, Mars moved into Virgo. New healthy practices for your well-being. That's the key here. And productive time. July the 11th, Mercury enters Leo. Communication becomes more creative. However, you must speak your truth. Like I said, this part of what I'm talking about astrologically goes for everyone. Now, July the 17th, coming up, we have the Cancer new moon. It creates a new phase of caring, whether our role is to look after another or for us to pay more attention to our own needs. Self-care is extremely highlighted for this month, and especially in the middle of the month around the Cancerian new moon. It's also a time of unconditional love. This new moon opposes Pluto, so we can finally put an end to a relationship or a way of being that no longer serves our best needs. Releasing this can create a sense of freedom, especially if the situation is declared absolutely over. If you have been in a poor relationship, the time to bring an end to it, as long as it's feasible and good for you and others around you, if you bring it to an end, it has to actually be to an end. And this new moon would be a perfect time to do that. A new direction becomes very clear for you. Along with the moon's trine to Neptune, we will finally resolve the healing needed, no matter how deep the injury is. Now, on July the 23rd, Venus will move retrograde in Leo. Now, that can bring a lot of old flames into our lives, okay? This can happen to a lot of different people. You'll be hearing about this. It might happen to you. Venus retrograde in Leo really stirs up love here, especially the loves that we thought had already been passed. Then also on July 23rd, the sun will be entering Leo, and it's a time of joy and creativity and summer fun. Enjoy your life. Just enjoy your life. But remember to have gratitude. You know, the Egyptians believed when their souls got to the entrance of heaven, the guards asked 2 questions. Their answers determined whether they were allowed to enter. Have you found joy in your life? Has your life brought joy to others? Now, on July the 28th, Mercury will enter its home sign of Virgo, home base for Mercury. So it's going to bring about really good communication, sharp thinking, and communication issues will be very clear. They had not really been the beginning of July. However, they're really improving, and by July 28th, all of that will really clear up. One last thing, in reference to the Aquarius super full moon on August the 1st, this moon pushes us to stand by where our principles lie and to stand by them with a set of planetary squares from the sun and the moon. We could feel like we're in between a rock and a hard place. Compromise is the only solution to alleviate this intensity. This is the time to avoid chronic stress as much as possible. This is a great time for utilizing grounding techniques and removing as much negativity from your environment as possible through clearing techniques. And my guest tonight will also be offering a lot of information regarding that. And every single thing that I have talked about is what I have personally written for my horoscope column, and it's in my newsletters. So this is not from the internet. This is what I personally write as a professional astrologer. Now, also, I just wanted to mention a little bit before we get to our wonderful guest, who's waiting here very patiently for me to finish, okay? I just wanted to talk a little bit about Archangel Gaddiel. We've been dealing with some really trying economic times and really stressful times. And, in order to be able to bring the hope that we need in these times, and who you can call upon, of course, is all the angels, but especially Archangel Gaddiel, especially when you're feeling despair regarding issues such as any relationships or finances or career. This is the one angel in particular that can help with all of these issues in your time of need. Archangel Gaddiel, G-A-D-I-E-L. Gaddiel is called the most holy of angels. His name means God is my wealth. He's just waiting in the wings for you to call upon him to help. When you do call upon him, don't be surprised. I have seen this happen too. Don't be surprised to see flashes of yellow and green light, and or possibly even your curtains moving as though a gentle breeze just blew in, even though all your windows are closed. He's one of several guards of the gate of the south wind, and therefore you may feel a stir of wind around you to let you know his presence is there. And he's the one to call upon, Archangel Gaddiel. If you're having money problems, ask Gaddiel to help you. Also, Archangel Barachiel, who I have discussed many times before. That is the angel of plenty. But when you have a relationship problem of any kind, call upon Gaddiel to help, and he can help you with relationship problems with friends, family, or even your boss, okay? And one of his great attributes is to help you improve your job performance. So if you're having problems there, Gaddiel is your man/woman, because, angels are neither male or female. If you're looking for a new job, he can also help help you maintain a very positive outlook and release any limiting beliefs to the point of transforming your life and creating abundance for you. There's no limits what he can do. So why don't you try going outside at some point when you want to call upon the assistance of Archangel Gadiel and feel the wind around you. Then just simply close your eyes and imagine that your request of what it is that you need help with is tied to a beautiful balloon. And when the time feels right to you, imagine releasing the balloon and it floating on the wind to Angel Gadiel. And take a few deep breaths and know that Gadiel will answer your prayer if it's for your greater good. And with all that, now I'm very excited to introduce our guest here tonight, a wonderful healer, and his name is Roland BuddhaHawk. Welcome, Roland. How are you?
Hi, Mary. I'm doing well.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very excited to interview you.
And I want to say, while you were talking about Gadiel, I felt this it was a pressure, but it just felt joyous.
That's beautiful.
Like it was like, I was like, what is this? This feels great. So I found that to be, it was very good.
Oh,
it felt
good. I'm glad.
It's a positive thing.
That's part of my column that I write on angels.
Oh, beautiful.
That I share. But, I find you to be very interesting because you do a very interesting type of healing that you were explaining to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you explain to our audience exactly what you do?
Well, the healing that I do is something I've been doing since I've been a little kid. And I've taken other modalities, and I'm always defaulting back to what I've done as a little kid. So, I mean, the way that I see it is, I have to be a 4-year-old boy. That 4-year-old boy always sees a big ball of light. I've tried to merge me now and the 4-year-old. I've tried to ask as myself now. It doesn't do anything. But if I'm the 4-year-old boy, it's pure innocence and unconditional love.
That's right.
I ask the ball of light to help me to help the person, the space, the animal. The ball of light moves over me, and the energy flows through.
So you've been having the ball of light assisting you since you were a little boy.
Yes.
Yeah. Up until at least the age of 7, we're still connected to the other side in our previous life. We're still connected. So, that's why I find it very interesting, because I shared with you before that since I was little, it's been recognized, my family's that way. That I've been connected very much with the angels. And and your family also recognized this about you, didn't they? Weren't you telling me about that?
My mom knew.
Okay.
She didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
She would take me places, and they would just, protection. But, other than that, it was so different back then. I mean, I could see very clearly when spirit was there or whatever might be there. I was able to hear, and then 8 years old, I felt I had to shut it down because people made fun of me.
That's what happens.
And then I started telling them what was going to happen, and then when I got to school, they started calling me a freak, and I just wanted to be a regular child, and so I didn't want to hear anything anymore. But it doesn't go away, it just gets buried. And throughout the years, they reached me, but it was always like they had to scream. But I heard them when they screamed, but now we have a different relationship. But I'm still wanting to be the 8-year-old kid again, because he didn't have any limits. He didn't know he couldn't do anything. So,
yeah, because you didn't second guess yourself.
Well,
then.
yeah.
Of course not.
Sure.
So now, how long have you been reconnected? I guess is the terminology.
Okay. No, that would be right. Okay. So 2004, I broke up a relationship I had. I broke that off, and I quit my job in the same week.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I just cleaned the slate, and then I had an opportunity to drive a car cross country. driving it for a friend for his dad. So I was driving from here in Jersey to L.A., and my idea was to go to the beginning of Florida, cutting across to Louisiana, Texas, and then to L.A., and whatever was in between, you know. Somewhere around Memphis, because I had to see Graceland.
Oh, you're lucky you got to see that.
Yeah.
I always wanted
And
to.
the Lisa Marie, the plane.
Wow.
But I started to see Arizona in my head like a neon light. Now, at this point in my life, I mean, I felt I didn't have any connection. I felt very like I was walking in cement. That's what it felt like. So it was... When I was experiencing this, I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know what to think. But as I kept driving, now I'm seeing, of course, Sedona, and I'm just like, oh, come on. And I didn't know like much about anything. But I called a friend. I said, do me a favor, find me some kind of guide or something for these vortexes. Let me see. So she found me somebody because she liked her eyes, and I ended up meeting her. But the drive, I stayed in Flagstaff, which is an amazing town, and then the drive on this road, it's a rural, like, scenic road, and it's like 15, 20 miles an hour, but it's just desert
I know.
landscape.
I've been to Arizona many times.
But driving down this,
know.
I felt like I wanted to burst into tears at some points, and I don't know what's happening, right?
Oh.
So I was feeling something, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to make of it. So I was like, you know... And then, like, I got to the bottom, and it's going along a river, and I'm driving along, and I start seeing horses running on the water horses. But they're like big Mustangs that are just galloping, and I'm driving, and I know, like, my conscious mind is telling me, I know that if I turn my head, they're not going to be there. So I turn my head, they're not there. So I'm like, all right. But now I'm continue to drive, and then there they are again. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So now I meet the woman. We take the hike up by Bell Rock or something, and we did some breathing exercises, and the next thing you know, one thing, boom, 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 and I just felt like my spirit just shot up and out, and the next thing you know, it was like hundreds and hundreds of pictures per second, and I was like, what is happening? And some of that was 2 memories that I had about helping my mom and helping a cat.
And helping a cat.
So 4 years old, helping our cat Mittens. Now there was a crazy cat lady. She had like 20 cats or whatever. But Mittens was an indoor-outdoor cat. And Mittens came home one day with a paw, like scratched up, bloody, can barely meow, looked like a tough time breathing.
Yeah.
And I remember I just gently scooped her and picked her up and told her she's going to be okay. And I just held her, and I asked the ball of light to help me to help Mittens. And then the ball of light moved over me, and I remember feeling that and just feeling that love. And then maybe 10 minutes or so. And then I gently put her down, and I went inside. The next morning, my mom was taking me with her to work, and there are 3 birds as gifts. And she was in and out of my legs. No scratches, no nothing. Like
amazing.
And she followed me every day like a dog. She was just around me the whole time after that. And then, so that memory was very clear. And then
beautiful.
The one with my mother was in 1999. She had cancer, and she was really uncomfortable. And I worked in a restaurant, so I got home at like 2 in the morning. And I remember from like 2 to 3, this poor woman was just moaning in pain. And I just got up in tears. And I just remember kneeling at her bed, and I don't know, I just put my hands right over her stomach. And she said, oh my God, I feel this incredible heat. What are you doing? And my hands felt like ice. And within 10 minutes, she was able to like fall asleep. She fell asleep, and she fell asleep for roughly 9-10 hours. And she woke up refreshed, relaxed. And had I had more information I would have tried it again. But so those memories came back up in 2004. So now I'm like, oh. So then I started just kind of experimenting with people. Like, I was working in some law firm, and this woman, she had a bad shoulder pain she had for years. And then so I remember looking left, looking right. I'm like, I want to try something real quick. And I put my hand right over her shoulder, trying to be inconspicuous. She goes, what are you doing? That feels warm. I said, I don't know, but just tell me what you feel. She goes, I feel this heat. I said, okay. So I did that for a few minutes, and I went back to a half hour later, and she's just like, oh my God, I forgot that I even had the pain that I had for years. So, and I just did a lot of experimenting. And then 2015, I had an opportunity. Actually, it was a breakup, and then went to some expo, and they're like, I was like, I should be doing this. And they're like, yeah, that's what we've been thinking all along. So 2015, I had the opportunity to do an expo here, actually in Staten Island. And that's when I officially came out as a healer. And that was amazing.
And when you say the ball of light,
Mm-hmm.
what is the ball of light?
I want to keep it as simple as I can because I want to, the honest answer is the ball of light's it always feels good. It feels warm. I don't know. I want to say it's just divine energy, but I want to be careful of how I say that, of course, because it's my interpretation.
Right, and it is just your interpretation.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own,
But
if to you,
to me, it always felt divine. I always, if you want to call it, a communication was always something different, from the other ones that I would see. So it just always felt, as a little kid, and even now, being that little kid when I'm doing what I do, I'm still in that same space.
yes.
I don't
Yes.
know how to, I don't know if I want to separate what that
Why
little
would
boy
you?
feels.
Why would you? Why would you?
Well, that's what I
especially
mean.
when it's divine.
Well,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I have to tell you, my whole life, I have been connected to my first angel that I realized and my family realized was Carol Ann. And I've said this many times before on different programs and things that, if I had had a different family, they would have said, oh, she's having an imaginary friend. Carol Ann is still with me today. So there you go. And when I do my readings, my healings, I'm connecting with Carol Ann and all the other angels up there. When I say up there, it's because where all my information comes from is right up around that area. And what I was noticing with you, when you and I were just having cordial conversation earlier in the studio prior to filming, I had mentioned to you that I noticed that you go up here when we were talking about different things. And so that's why I knew where you were going. I knew where you were
caught me.
going. So yeah, so let's face facts. We're a couple of little toddlers sitting here right
Yes.
now on a spiritual level because it's just the truth. And unfortunately, what happens is lots of times kids don't get the opportunity to explore that, open that up more and everything. And like you said, when you were going to school, you were afraid that you were being laughed at and things, but then that trip across country really did something for you. But one thing I want to say to you,
Yes.
I'm a board certified clinical hypnotherapist, and when you were describing that trip across country, when a person is driving, especially a long distance, it's very mesmerizing. So you were in another zone while you were driving along, and that's why I feel that you were able to access that. Hope I'm not overstepping saying that to you.
No, that makes sense to me.
I think that's what
Yeah.
happened to you.
I would say that
And then
you're
you
right.
reconnected.
Yeah, that was
I love
that
it.
was a real beautiful that was a beautiful experience.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that you have such a beautiful energy.
Well, thank you.
And I told you that the first time I ever met you.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to invite you on the show and interview you, because so that you could share with our audience. So you do a lot of different things. It isn't just for people, it's also animals, you said,
yep.
right? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that too?
So the animals are interesting because animals, they'll get cozy, like a cat or if somebody had a chinchilla, they'll get cozy.
Chinchilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll get cozy, and they'll just sit there, and I'll let that energy flow, and then when they had enough, they get up, they walk away.
Yeah.
Now there are instances where it's challenging to the point like I can't do it. Like a friend of mine, she had a little chihuahua, I want to say. The moment she left the room, that chihuahua needed to be next to her. So when they have that kind of anxiety, that's a whole other level of stuff. Like that person's almost got to be sitting on my lap for this dog to be okay. So I mean that's rare, but mostly the other animals, they've been very receptive. In fact, I was walking yesterday morning,
Yes.
and there was a baby squirrel and a bird that fell. I don't know. They were stunned. They were just sitting on the sidewalk, like right next to a tree. And I was standing right next to him. I was like, "What's happening here?" And I don't know. I didn't know what happened to him. I'm assuming that they were stunned from the fall, but I was just letting energy flow. And the next thing you know, the squirrel starts to twitch, and then he runs up the tree. And then I took a couple steps, and I saw this bird. I'm afraid somebody's going to get it, so I started to move the energy with him, and then the bird started to go into somebody's yard, and then
Oh,
went into a
good.
tree underneath the bush. So, but it's interesting how they react.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, animals and birds are more connected than humans.
Very true.
That's really what
pure,
I
yeah.
feel. Yeah. Yeah. And so now, what else you were saying that you do? You do other things too.
Yeah, I do house clearings.
Yes.
We can, help to program like crystals, and just moving that energy so it can be for that person to do what it needs to do for that person. Clearing a person, of course, obviously, right? Especially if they feel they have something that they walk through, so it's like another energy that's on them. Let's say, I could help them with that. So, and one of the funnest things that I do is group healings. Those are so amazing. The most that I've done is 80 people so far, so I'm trying to get 200, and then after that, as big a room or a stadium or whatever I can fit. But the more people, the more amazing the energy.
And when you say you do that, when you do the group, you send the energy. You don't go
Okay.
to each. Yeah.
So
that the audience understands.
Right. No, of course. Let me explain, which I don't mind doing. So when I'm in that process of doing a group healing,
Yes.
let's say we have 10 people or 20 people, right? So in that flow, the energy's flowing around the room, so we get a bunch of beautiful energy in. So now this other stream of energy for each person will flow through me. So that means 20 streams of energy flow through me at the same time, and it comes out for each person. But it's also flowing around as a collective. Mm-hmm. So it's
I understand.
you do, but
Yes,
I would
I
like
do.
to be able to explain more of
Yeah,
it.
that's not easy to explain.
So
as far as the collective energies.
yeah, but it's the responses have been amazing, and it's for me, of course, like all the visuals that I see. I wish I could put into words. I wish I can plug it into my head, and then you can watch it on TV, because the visuals, what I perceive and what's happening in there is, I can't.
You can't even describe
No.
it. I know that myself, because
Yeah.
it's otherworldly. You can't describe it in earthly terms. The thing is, the name of the show, actually, this episode, is about removing negative energy.
Right.
So any tips that you can give our audience that they can do themselves, I think that would be very much appreciated.
Well, that's I mean, people for the most part go straight to sage or crystals in certain areas, which I'm not going to say doesn't work. I'm going to say it definitely would help.
Oh, yeah.
And the average home, just in the average home, putting some tourmaline in the corners is always a good thing. I like that idea. I've known that people have done it, and their home feels better. It feels more grounded, protected, feels good.
That's right. Or black obsidian.
Any of the blacks.
Any of that suck up
Yeah.
the negative. That's what it does. It sucks
Right.
up the negative
And then,
energy.
they want to throw some quartz with that, you could do that too. I mean, that's something that I feel is a good thing. But if you have something that, say, is a little bit more persistent as far as an energy in the home.
Oh, well, then that's different.
Well,
That's different. I mean, you can sage and you can try
I
and
think sometimes
everything.
I think sometimes saging though gets them a little mad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, spirits
No,
in there. Well, it depends on what type of sometimes
Energy you're
it's
dealing
gotta,
with.
They have personalities.
Yes, they do.
You know.
I shared with you before that at one point in my life, this was a while ago. Well, actually, I guess maybe for at least the past 15 years, I haven't done it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've been requested, but I don't do that anymore. The house clearings.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done that at one point with my ex-husband, and my son used to assist us many
Right.
times. But, and we have, that's something you have to really know what you're doing, which I'm sure you do, as
Well-
you were saying. Okay. But especially if you're dealing with something that is super negative,
Yeah.
because you don't want an attachment.
Right.
Okay. And many times what will happen is that a person can move into a house. I'm sure you're right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Person moves into a house and they can't understand, why bad things are happening all of a sudden, or, that kind of thing. Or they hear things, or maybe things are flying around. I mean, I've already seen people where the things are
Oh, yeah.
flying, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So the problem is, though, that if that goes unchecked too long, that spirit could actually make an attachment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about just an attachment. I'm not talking about something like The Exorcist
Right.
or something like that. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about an attachment. And the reason I know that is because I myself have removed many attachments from people through Native American healing.
Right.
And it's really a shame. So if you really have a super duper problem in your home, you should contact a professional, but you have to make sure it's professional.
But that's in extreme cases, and
Yeah.
they do exist. There was a girl that I worked on that she had an attachment, and this was the craziest thing that I've ever experienced, because the attachment was so intertwined with her nervous system in her body. Had I just pulled it out, the girl probably would have been a vegetable. Mm-hmm. And so it had to be a slow process.
Right.
A slow process. It took a total of, I want to say, 6 sessions, and sometimes some of them being 2 or 3 hours.
And how did this attachment happen?
She wasn't exactly sure. She was in Peru, and that's kind of where it happened for her. So it was either a family member who was jealous, or she walked into something when she was walking around doing a touristy thing.
Right. Had she had anyone who had passed away?
Nobody that would affect her. She was talking a different language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different language, and when she would see certain people, she would run. She couldn't take regular steps. She was doing little shuffles.
Sounds like she had a walk-in.
The way that I understood it, and I don't know if this is right, but for me, it was the
Yeah.
understanding of it was a collective. They were taking turns driving her body.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my goodness, the poor woman.
Yeah.
How is she now?
Married and living a regular life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, as far as I could see on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
You know
I
what
thought
I
maybe
mean?
you kept in contact.
I mean to
Okay.
actually, I do mean to reach out to her
Okay.
because it's been a while. But I mean, her life is looking so happy. I'm just, let's leave the past in the past. We did what we needed to do, and she's
That's
living a
right.
good life.
Let it be.
Yeah.
God bless her. The other thing is, too, though, removing negative energy, it isn't just about the attachments and everything. As far as yourself or your home, what else would you say? I would say grounding is very important for people. That's
huge.
number one.
Huge.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest way to ground, and perhaps maybe you can add to this, is just taking your shoes off and walking on the ground. I had a conversation with one of my Reiki students the other day, and she was telling me about how she had suggested that, to her class, and they don't want to put their feet on the grass. So then go to the beach, walk on the beach, but you got to take your shoes off and
all right.
connect.
So
right?
let me give you
Go ahead. I thought you'd get a kick out of this. Go ahead.
Because I'm one of those people. I don't want to take my shoes off.
Oh, you too.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's just like that's going to be a no. So, but let's understand though. So there's always, for me, the way I look at life is there's always another way.
Well, there always is.
I mean,
there are other ways
and
to do it.
I do understand the science. There is a science about putting your feet on the ground.
Proven.
And it's yep.
And a lot of science behind it.
So, but for me, the biggest ways that I recharge is actually walking in the woods. Like there's a little sanctuary area that I walk around where I grew up as a kid, like in Inglewood Cliffs, Fort Lee, where I would still walk around to this day. And I remember riding these trails with my little Huffy, So, and there were a lot of spirits there, a lot of native spirits that would educate me in one way, shape, or form that I can't put into words. But walking through there, it's just almost like,
you're connected.
yeah, I'm just a big magnet.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm pulling in, I'm giving out.
And you're part of it. The thing is, you're one with it.
So for me, that works.
Yes.
And for me, it's just like if I had a plant, because I don't have a lot of light in my apartment, but if I had I would literally stick my hand on the dirt of the plant.
Absolutely.
Or I usually will, if I'm feeling really off, I'll find a beautiful tree. Not they all are, but some are more than others. And I'll just literally sit and hug it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So just lean on it and just say thank you, and just give.
Gratitude is so important. Please, gratitude is extremely important. Every morning I wake up. As soon as I wake up, I say thank you. Thank you for another beautiful day.
Yeah.
Whether it could be storming outside or not, thank you for another beautiful day given to me and given to the world, so that's nice suggestions that you're giving people so they don't have to take their shoes off. Okay, and then what about some other ways we can talk about here, huh? What about that?
Well, let's see. Well, let me tell you how I perceive when I do a house clearing.
Go ahead.
Because maybe somebody can take away something with it to try to help adapt for themselves. I'm not saying it's going to be the same, but maybe some sort of visualization that might. First off, if being a person, before I get into my story, being a person in the home, them declaring this is my space, you're going to get out. Or a lot of that declaring will set the boundary and push it out more, or it'll help. Could also go the other way, but 9 times out of 10, it'll help you a little bit. So when I get called in to do these homes, the circumstance and the situation will happen that I'll walk around the property, whatever it is. I'll get the understanding of where the property lines are. And then, so what I'll do is it'll either go in the basement or the lowest point, or the room with the most activity. And I'll just sit. I'll put some music on, and in that process, I just let it flow through me. So it's more than an actual session. So it's like 30% more energy of what I feel coming through. And what happens is, so that energy will flow through me, and then it'll flow through the center of the space, go down about, I want to say 400, 500 feet, and then sprawl out to the property lines. And then these columns of light come up in the corners, the 4 corners, and they just go straight up, and it almost looks like this big tent, right? And usually what happens is the ceiling mirrors the bottom, the floor.
Yeah.
And there's always some kind of like cool sacred geometry, or there's, just beautiful shapes and stuff. But what ends up happening is like a golden white shimmery light starts to rise up from the floor. And in that process, anything that isn't willing to be part of the new vibration, part of the new frequency, gets booted and kicked out.
Right.
So it's just like this whole barrier starts to come up. And it just keeps on going. It goes about 400 or 500 feet up, and that's it. And it sounds pretty simple. Just like saying even the process with the big ball of light moving over me, though these processes seem simple. And that's where I always go. It's like, this should be simple. It shouldn't be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a tendency as humans to overcomplicate things. But
yes, that's a shame. That's a shame, because I personally, and I don't want to offend anyone, but I personally do not believe that it's necessary to go through ritualistic. You're in agreement with
Yes.
that? The reason that I say that is although, I do fire ceremony, I go up in the mountains, I do all that. That is true. I do all that. However, I don't feel, especially, a lot of people become enslaved
Yes.
to the ritualistic practices,
Yeah.
thinking they're doing something, but they're only doing the mechanics of things
Mm-hmm.
instead of really becoming connected. I know of people that, they're so concerned about walking into a particular room because they say they feel so much negative energy and they're afraid that they're going to get attacked. I walk in a ball of light, in a constant, what we're talking about
Sure.
here. To me, that's the Holy Spirit surrounding me. And it's just, I'm in this bubble of light, and I always have been.
Right.
And that's why I was asking you before, for you to explain what you felt your ball of light was, because I just always feel that I'm surrounded by that and nothing negative can enter.
Well, I'm in agreement with nothing negative can enter for
Yes.
yourself and for me. Like I think of all the things that I've done, and I've walked in some places that you can consider dark or very, very challenging.
Especially if you do house clearings.
Yeah, that's what I expect. But there was only been one time where I was told, no, you're not doing that. And that's a lot of houses that I've done out throughout the years.
And when you say no, you're not doing that, exactly what do you mean? Then you did not, and you left?
I felt that I didn't. I was scheduled to do it.
Go ahead.
Like I did the first part, and then I was supposed to work on the person who had this attachment.
I see.
Right, so I was basically going to clear the sun and clear the space again.
Yes.
While he was there. But as the days got closer to it, I was almost being yelled at, you are not to do this.
I see.
And I was
Good.
like,
very good.
yeah, I listened.
No, you did listen.
Yeah, but
Let
I
me tell
normally
you.
don't. Not that I normally don't listen, but normally I haven't encountered a situation like that it put the kibosh on it. I was asking all of my intuitive friends.
Oh yeah, and it totally told you just don't do it, and you didn't do it.
No.
And let me tell you something. I'm sitting here tonight with you due to the fact that I actually listened to my husband, who had told me. I was out in Sedona with a friend of mine because, as I said before, I've been to Sedona many times. And we had taken a whole road trip all the way from California all the way across, because we went across the Mojave Desert.
Wow, okay.
The scenic route. Anyway, and ended up in Sedona. And my husband kept warning me, do not go in the caves with Jill. Jill was my very close friend. And she wanted me to go in. She got mad at me, actually left me for a few days in Sedona because I wouldn't go, because what he felt, I trusted.
Right.
And it just felt like, no, I shouldn't. So I didn't. And long story short, I could tell you more after the show.
Sure.
I don't want to waste too much time of the show. But unfortunately, on the way back, right after, the last time I saw her was after the plane landed in Newark, and we went back to her house, and right after that she passed away. She had entered a portal that's in one of the caves that she shouldn't have. And she had a guide that was, No. So long story short, I listened, just like you listened,
Right.
and that's why you're sitting here today.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay? So to our audience, what we really need to say is, when you feel some very strong messages that you should just stay away completely, okay? That doesn't mean that you get scared of everything, but we're talking about this is like a once in a rare kind of a moment for you, for me, right?
Well, it's just like, trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
And that's where it's going to be, right there, right? The solar plexus, in the sacral, that all that area, that's your fight and flight. So it's like you get punched sometimes, whether it's a person you shouldn't be associating with, or walking into some sort of space that you've never been into before, or even a space that you have been in before. That's an intuition we all have with that. Especially parents. Or even sometimes it could be for a friend. Like you just feel something. You wake up in the middle of the night. Are you all right? I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
Oh, yeah.
Me
too.
But I'm saying even people that don't do this sort of work on the regular, they have it. Everybody can understand it. Everybody can do it. It's just allowing the feel. What do you feel? What are you feeling at that moment? And that's really going to be your guide. So, and if nothing else, just to feel. So it's just like if you're walking into a room and you don't feel right, trust it.
Turn around and walk out.
That's it. Get out.
Yeah.
Let somebody else deal with it.
Right. So, what about some other things that you would like to suggest, perhaps, in reference to what people can do to keep positive energy around them? I mean, right away, I call upon the angels.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great thing, but some people that
Don't
might not
believe in
be
angels.
might not be their thing.
Right.
Roses.
Yes.
Roses in the home, high vibration, and when the petals drop, save them, and once a month, put them in a bath so you can get a nice high vibe bath.
That's nice. Or you could even sprinkle them on top of a candle, burn the candle.
Yeah. I like that one too.
The rose is interesting because especially if you want to draw more joy and love into your life, the roses, they work with Archangel Shamuel, which is the angel of love. So an angel person can relate to that too, And sometimes have you ever noticed that maybe you would smell flowers and there are no flowers around? Have you ever noticed that? Okay.
Yes.
Or maybe you smell smoke.
Yeah, phantom scents.
Yes. They're coming from spirit.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like a perfume.
Yeah,
sure.
Recognize that. Or what I was talking about before with Archangel Gadiel, sometimes you can hear, you could feel that wind, even though you're in your home and there's no windows open, no doors open, you feel a little bit of a breeze. That could be a loved one passing through to say hello, right? Yeah.
Right? I love it. Absolutely.
All these beautiful things.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love what you were telling me in reference to the bird and the squirrel. Thank you for doing that.
I didn't know what else to do.
I know.
I could have kept walking.
I know.
And just like I'm saying, but as
you wouldn't do
as
that.
the regular person, it's like, oh wow, that's so it sucks to be the squirrel and bird, but something happened. So.
But seriously, and even though you keep hearing this so much in the metaphysical world, we are all connected, we are all one, but it is the truth, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's why when you're talking about before, when you do a room clearing, with maybe 80 people in the room, the reason you have that collective energy is because we are all connected. And when you have 80 people in a room, all those auras are all mushing and into each other, that energy, right?
That's a lot of fun. That's all I know.
What else? You're cute. You really are. So tell me, while we still have a couple of minutes, your name.
Oh, BuddhaHawk.
Yeah,
okay.
BuddhaHawk.
So,
I want to hear about that.
It's not my real last name.
Okay.
But it's a name that honestly I've adapted. So basically and quickly, there was an expo that I went to, and I didn't want to go, but Spirit was nudging me, like they moved I was like, I'm not going, and they drove the car.
Yep.
And then I'm not getting out, and the next thing I'm walking in, and I'm like, I'm not getting a reading, and then I started to walk towards somebody because everybody would get like a HD and everything else would be fuzzy, so I was sitting for one reading, and then And then I had to go to another woman. So I just took the long way, and she watched the whole thing. And finally, when I sat down, she started to laugh. She's like, "Would you like a reading?" I said, "I don't know." And then she's just like, she said, "Oh, I see you as Buddha on the bike." So we became good friends after that. So she'd call me Buddha. And then my other friend, she remembers a past life that I was a medicine man by the name of Hawk.
There you
So
go.
somehow,
BuddhaHawk.
some way, that came to be together.
I love it.
And that's
I
that.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Brian is saying we have to wrap up. We have 1 minute. So anything else that you would like to add very quickly?
No, I'm under pressure.
You poor guy. I know. I'm sorry.
It's like, thank you, and I love everybody.
Yeah. Well, how about that we both send a beautiful blessing
I like
to
that.
the audience,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm worth it.
Of healing and of light and of love and of joy and of hope and abundance.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do that,
Amen.
okay?
Sure thing.
Many, many bright blessings to all of you. And remember, you can watch us on Spectrum, Channel 79, FiOS, Channel 35, Sunday night, 7:30. Any information that you would like about the show, my email address is at the end of the show. Any more information you would like in reference to our wonderful guest, Roland BuddhaHawk. Many blessings. See you next month. God bless you. Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.